Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the TripVR Podcast. This is the Christmas episode. My name's VR Bug. Say hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello
Say
everyone.
hello, Darth. Say hello, Darth.
You got Darth on your microphone?
Yes, Darth Vader has decided to join us for a Christmas episode.
No. He's got a little Santa hat on as well.
He has. Oh, hang on, he's got a little Santa cape on as well, you see. So.
You know, I just really didn't think that Darth Vader would ever get into the Christmas spirit, I'll be honest.
Yeah, who knew he was a Christian? I thought he was all into like that force.
Yeah, the Force thing. Yeah, that weird Force religion. Yeah.
Well, you know, once you've been defeated in battle, you suddenly have a change of heart.
That's it. You suddenly discover God. So we also have with us
coming up.
on this episode, we also have Bill Murray.
That's right.
He's here on Greg's t-shirt.
I have a lot of Bill Murray shirts.
You do? I was going to say, because I've seen that exact t-shirt, but without the Santa hat on, I swear.
Yeah. I actually wore one of these to my brother's wedding. He said it was casual, right? So he talks about this all the time because I show up with my girlfriend at the time, and here I am in like jeans and flip flops and a Bill Murray shirt.
There's casual for a wedding, and then there's like casual. And that's definitely pushing the boundary of what casual is.
I think you've just created a whole new category there on a drop-down menu. It's like, how are you dressing? Smart, casual, Greg. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. Completely new category. Definitely. Amazing. Right. Also, coming up this episode, we also have, we're going to talk about Medal of Honor by Respawn. Dean's the only one that's really played it at the moment. I bought it today. I'm downloading it. I think it's going to take all night, but Dean's the only one that's really played it. So if the bitrate goes on this podcast while I'm recording as well, you can play Medal of Honor because it's downloading in the background as well. So yeah. Also, we have Jurassic World Aftermath, also released from Coat Sync Games. We've also got MYST by Cyberpunk, which is an incredible puzzle game that's come back from the 1990s, and it's been remade for VR. So, Greg, what's been your highlight since I last saw you in the world of VR games?
Well, it's not necessarily a VR game, but for me, my highlight would be Cyberpunk because I've been playing it with Vortex in VR on my new Beast machine downstairs.
Oh, nice!
And it is just epic. I love it so much. I don't care about all the hate that's going on with this game. This one gives me that same type of whoa feeling that the Matrix did when I walked out of the Matrix. It's just so good. The story is just incredible.
Okay, so give us. I'm sure quite a few people out there know about Cyberpunk, but yeah. I'll be honest. You know, I'm massively into virtual reality. I do follow Flat Gaming a little bit. I know vaguely what it is, but not much about it. So give us a little bit of background about the game. I don't even know who makes it. Who makes it?
Well, it's CD Projekt Red, the same people that did Witcher 3, and so it's coming from a good pedigree there. Your character is V, and you're just in 2077 in this like cyberpunk city, Night City, and everybody like the menus of this game. It's so confusing because there's so much going on. It's so deep. You can upgrade your port to put all of your hacks in your neuro. So you could like hack enemies. You could like overheat them or short circuit them or it's crazy. Take control of cameras and then you can control enemies through the cameras. Mm-hmm. And hook the networks together. The gunplay is really fun, and I'm playing with Vortex. So, the way I like to play it is I play it in the kind of zoomed out full VR mode, so the screen is a little smaller and you can see it. It's still huge, and it still gives you head tracking, so it's still very much it's still 3D. But when you do it that way, the graphics are a lot crisper, and you can see the HUD a lot better. And then when I go into like fight mode with the gunfights, I just click the right stick and it brings you into full VR mode, and then you're right there, and then you have really good control because the gun with a thumbstick is really hard to aim. But man, when you're just looking and shooting, it's so much easier.
Yeah. So are you flipping between two different types of mode in Vorpex while you're playing it?
Basically, I stay in full VR mode, but if you click the right thumbstick, it zooms you out a little bit. So the screen gets a little smaller, but the graphics jump up big time. And like I said, you still have your head tracking with it and everything. It still moves with you around in the world. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I didn't like about Vorpex, I've tried it a number of times, is the fact that a lot of the games just kind of, they stuck to you so much that when you turn around, it just didn't feel like natural VR. And you had to push it away from you a lot of the time to kind of not feel nauseous and to operate those menus in the sidelines. And it's amazing. I mean, a lot of people probably don't know what Vorpex is. So it's like a 3D driver, isn't it? It gives you that stereoscopic view that you get in virtual reality with a headset on, and it kind of mimics that. So it gives you the ability to convert standard 2D games into 3D that you can view them via a headset. So do you think Cyberpunk converts well to a game in Vorpex?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's got that typical Vorpex kind of graininess when you're in full VR mode, because there's no geometric 3D. I don't know how they could possibly do that with Vorpex. I think it would run like shit. So it's Z adaptive or Z normal that you can use. So it still gives you that stereo, or that stereoscopic effect and that 3D feeling. It's just kind of faked a little bit. Like when you're doing like driving in the cars or the motorcycles, you have to zoom it out. You can't do that in full VR because it's the same thing you're talking about. The whole like frame
world
of
moves.
The car moves around with it. It's just impossible to do.
Yeah, Vomit Central, I would have thought.
Yeah, but of course you've got the scale issues with Vorpex where you feel really big and everybody looks really big. But you don't when
I'm a giant.
yeah. You don't when it's zoomed out. You don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it just really draws. Even zoomed out, I would rather play it like that than just on a flat screen, because it just is a much more intimate feeling of the game.
Sure.
Graphically, the game is gorgeous. Like I said, I've got a beefy computer. I've got an i9 10900K and a 2080 Super and 32 gigs of RAM. And
I'm so jealous of those specs.
M1 or M2 SSD. So, I mean, I think if I wasn't using Vorpex in VR, I could probably do ray tracing fine with it, because I have been doing ray tracing in VR a little bit. Now, I got to the second part of it where you, after you get through the big heist mission, where I meet this Japanese guy in this cafe, and the city got a little different at that point, where it's a lot more populated and there's a lot more going on. And then it just started skipping really bad, so I had to turn ray tracing off. It still looks great without it, but ray tracing.
What's the frame rate like? You getting high frame rates?
Yeah, with ray tracing off, I'm getting like probably 90 frames per second. I haven't been paying attention, but it seems flawless.
Seems okay, is it?
Yeah.
So Dean, you've had some experience with Vorpex, have you?
No, do you know what? I've never actually tried it, and it's one thing I've always wanted to. And I think the one thing that made me think there, Greg, was about the gunplay, because I don't know. There's something about the gunplay in that game. I haven't quite clicked it yet. There's something in it where I just can't quite get on with it. And the thing is that it's quite funny in my streams, because I've actually mid gunfight kind of threw the joypad away and quickly got to my mouse and keyboard, and then scrambled back to like the control pad. So being able to look and shoot could completely change that experience.
It makes it so much. There's something in the settings with the right stick, and I can't remember what it is. I saw a video about it that you have to click off, because what the game does is, like, if you move to the side, instead of just moving the way you move it, it kind of like shoots all the way to the left.
Yeah.
And then you have to bring it back. So it makes it harder to aim. Because I remember that first little training thing you did, where you put the chip in your head, and I'm starting to shoot these guys, and I just can't hit them with. And then when I went into full VR where I could look, I mean, because the first night I played without VR, because I didn't know I had to manually update Vorpex. Usually it does it automatically. But yeah, I mean, I was so frustrated. Then I hopped in there where I could just look, and I just went bam, 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 dead. I was like, oh, this is much better.
Yeah. So Dean, you're playing Cyberpunk as well, are you?
I am at the moment. I am playing it ray trace. I've actually got a lesser graphics card, but I've had to kind of drop some of the levels of certain things to get it to work with ray tracing. The other option is to kind of disable it and run DLSS instead. But to be honest, like I've got a card that's meant to do ray tracing, so I'm going to try and thrash the nuts off it to try and get it to do that. But yeah, as I said, with a bit of tweaking, I have kind of got it working. And the frame rate seems to be stable at the moment. A lot of the things I had to adjust was like the VSync to kind of drop that down a little bit. But after that, it's been okay. I've had a couple of glitches, but nothing that I would say are game breaking, as it were.
No.
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff with people's cars with like fling through the air and stuff, but I haven't
Or
had any,
where they're like.
that, yeah.
They're like trying to get out of the car or whatever, and the car's just rolling around, flopping the person on the street. It's like really goofy shit. The question I have for Dean is, are you wearing pants?
Oh, yeah, that's
random question.
No, there's a legitimate reason why he's asking that. So in the game, you can customize your character, so you can pick up different items to obviously get better, armor and as such. So you can change your top, your shoes, and you can also change your trousers as well, or pants if you are in the States. So I decided to change thus garment, but I forgot to equip it. So for probably a good half an hour, 45 minutes in the game, my character was throwing his dong around pretty much in the street. And I had someone hurl abuse at me, I had someone spit on me, and then chat were just like, what is going on? This hasn't happened in my game. And I sort of like hit a menu, and I was just like browsing around like, yeah. And everyone in the chat was like, what the F? Why do you have no trousers on? I went, what? And then I suddenly looked and I was like, oh.
So the characters in the game were responding to the fact that you weren't wearing trousers walking down the street.
I had someone spit on my character.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Isn't that incredible detail?
It is. Beardo Benjo, I was watching, he was talking about the game, and he's like, this city, the open world feels hollow to me. Everybody seems like mindless zombies and all that. And I don't know if it's because I'm playing in Vorpex and VR, but I'm walking around Night City, and I feel like I'm in a real city. I mean, I'm keeping my head down. It amazes me the diversity of the characters walking around. I mean, I don't know that I ever see any repeats,
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, people just kind of keep to themselves. Most of them have like one-word responses to you, or say stupid shit like, one said, "You're gonna catch a fly" or something like that. I can't remember. I think maybe my mouth was open looking at her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then there's these two cops. When you first come out of V's apartment to go out into Night City, you're going through this kind of a shop area, with lots of kiosks and everything. And there are these two cops sitting at the counter, and they have the exact same discussion every time you walk by them, talking. And it's like they go into all this detail. Couldn't they have given them another conversation, maybe?
They probably weren't expecting you to come back to the same area again and again or something.
Well, no, yeah, you do. You go because it's V's apartment. You have to go back there. That's
right, gotcha.
That's where your stash is and everything. Yeah. But oh my god, the graphics, the characters, they look so good. And the way I haven't been gripped this much by an RPG and a story. I think the last time I was this obsessed with one was probably the original release of Final Fantasy VII. That one I took the day off work so I could play that game. Yeah. So this one, I mean, just the way you're sitting there, in the story bits, and these characters are acting, and it's like, holy shit, this is so good. Just the feeling of it just has that blockbuster feeling,
That's great. Now, what headset are you using for it?
I'm using the Index.
So you're running this on the Index, okay, and you're playing with a gamepad.
Yes.
Just gamepad, okay.
Just sitting in my chair.
Sitting
there. I got my cats crawling all over me while I'm trying to play.
Nice. And so do you control the frame rate via the headset? I don't know. You must set it to 90 frames, I guess.
I have my Steam set up at 120.
120. Yeah.
Second,
okay.
So I don't really know where. I didn't have to mess with any of those settings to get this to work in Vorpex. It just worked right out of the box.
It did. Nice.
So, yeah, you just go in game. You want to set your field of view to 100.
Yeah.
So that as high as you can. and I think put a lot of the shadows down to medium level.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been playing with ray tracing, I guess, for quite some time, and it was fast. My only issue with the game that I'm having is it's crashing a lot, and that might just be because of Vorpex. I'm not sure. I know. I hear a lot of other people are having problems with hard crashes. So,
are they Vorpex users as well that are experiencing the crashing, or is it?
No. These are just PC and console. So.
Okay, so it sounds like it's buggy anyway.
It wasn't ready. I mean, I saw an article. I was reading an article yesterday of the developers of the game are really upset with like the corpos, because these are the guys that pushed this game and gave unrealistic deadlines, and they obviously needed more work on it, especially if they were going to try to put it on the last gen systems, which I personally think they should have just not even bothered with.
Yeah.
Because this is the next gen game. It's no doubt about it. So.
Yeah, it seems weird that they would consider shoehorning it onto last gen, really.
Yeah. So, I feel really bad for the developers of this game because they have clearly put their heart and soul into it. It's beautiful. It's so much fun to play too.
Okay. And Dean, are you finding the same sort of experience? It's a great game, loving it?
It's funny because game of the year for me is still Half-Life Alyx, which people still can't quite seem to understand. But I'm like, when you play it, you'll get it. But because I've been playing it and I've been streaming it and stuff like that, everyone's kind of seen my reactions to it. And when I first started it, I was like, yeah, it looks pretty, yeah, it looks cool, this, that, and the other. And with each hour that's gone by, someone messaged me and went, I've never seen someone go from 0 to 100 in a few hours.
Really nice. Yeah.
I felt the same way. I didn't really like it a ton at first.
I think the problem is that the story takes a few hours to really get going, and then when it finally does, you're like, uh-oh, wow, okay, right, we're really in it. This is go time now. So when it really starts to kick up a gear, and the thing is it then starts to ask you like really it almost tests your internal emotions by asking you to do specific questions in the game.
Like moral dilemmas.
Yeah, and the problem is you're then deciding what would you do versus what do you think the character would do, and what's the repercussions going forward. So there was one bit where I was just sat there going, and chat were like, just do something. I'm like, oh, no,
I don't know what to do.
I don't want to do this. Stop making big decisions. So yeah, it was a horrible.
Yeah. And this is the essence of RPGs. They're role-playing games, so you got to step into the shoes of the character that you're playing.
Yeah.
But I'm also the same sort of person. Like I struggle. Yeah. So I like Saints and Sinners, right? You can play that as an absolute bastard if you want to be the sinner, or you can be the saint and help absolutely everyone that you come across. And I was like, right, I'm going to do a sinner playthrough. And so I started the game, and like I failed almost instantly because I started helping someone rather than blowing their head off. And it's like I struggle with doing the role play on like the bad sort of negative sinner side of the storylines. I always want to go for like the positive slant on the narrative to see what happens if, because it feels like the good path is the way to go. But it's not. Like the most fun is probably going the path of a sinner or something like that,
Yeah.
But yeah. So
there was a point like that that he's talking about in this game, and I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but it involved Evelyn Parker and Dex Duchesne, and ways that you had to answer a question to Dex, and I was just like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to do this. I ended up doing it, and
it made you feel uncomfortable, didn't it?
Yeah, because I was like, but I was like, I like her. I don't know if I want to do this.
That's cool. That means that you've made a connection with the characters in the story.
Seriously,
and it's drawn you in.
I'm telling you, this game made me cry. At the end of the heist, I was like, wow, this I wasn't expecting this. This is really heavy. So
that's amazing. Yeah. And I wonder if you were affected more because you were more immersed in the story via VR.
I would, for me, it might be that, because for me, it's all just right there, and I'm just right in it all the time. And even with that immersive type screen where it's not like the full VR, I mean, still, you don't have anything else. You just have that, and it's still 3D, and it's just,
Oh god, you're making me want to play this game. I love games that emotionally affect me, that have a really deep, solid story. I would just love native VR support for it.
I think the one thing to put on the end of that is that I've seen people play this without ray tracing, and the game still looks better than anything else out there right now.
It's so good. It's beautiful.
And that's on cards like 1070s, 1080s, or equivalent. So the game still runs really well without ray tracing. In fact, I probably dare say it probably actually runs a lot better with it off.
It does. It does. Oh yeah, when I turned it off that one time, it went from really bad skipping and frame dropping to just lightning fast, like that. So.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And what's the minimum specs on this game? Like, is it TI?
I don't know what the minimums are. I know that there's a big chart that they put out that shows all of the cards though. Like I know that they suggest if you want ray tracing, they're saying 3080. I mean the characters are so real feeling that you like there's a character that she's basically a hacker, and what she does is she runs this little area where she puts you into brain dances, and her name is Judy. And first of all, she's extremely attractive. She has great tats, all this kind of stuff. But I just really liked her, and I went up to her, and it actually gave me an option to flirt with her. And I'm like, oh, cool, So this is somebody I want to develop a relationship with.
Greg's just admitted to fancying and flirting with an in-game character, and this is the future, people, right here on the TripVR podcast.
I live with cats.
We are highlighting the future. I've got 2 cats as well.
It wouldn't surprise me if CD Projekt Red either are thinking or already have some form of VR adoption for this game. They'd be
nuts not to do it. It's so
it would be
good.
Nuts. Honestly, if just thinking in my head, if I could play Cyberpunk fully immersed in VR, it would probably be the greatest game of all time. More so than what I'm playing now, because the amount of detail in that game. I mean, it sounds stupid, but even the garbage on the street has detail on it. The signs, just everything about it. There's so much minuscule detail that's pumped into that game. And if you think about bringing that into a native VR thing, even the gunplay and stuff like that in VR
would be so much better.
Would be just unbelievable. I do have the minimum specs, by the way.
Okay, go on then. Shoot.
So surprisingly, it says Windows 7 or 10, which made me raise an eyebrow. Anyone on Windows 7?
Windows 7?
Good luck. It says Intel Core i5 3570K or AMD FX 8310, 8 gig of RAM, which is surprising. Again, this is minimum, so they take it with a pinch of salt. GPU wise, it says an NVIDIA GTX 780 or a Radeon RX 470.
That's minimum?
That's unbelievable.
For me, re-looking at that, I would say you would need at least a 8th gen Core i5, in my opinion, at least 16 or 32 gigs of RAM, and I would say at least a 1080 or 1080.
Yeah, no kidding.
To get an experience of a decent level, that's what I would probably do.
Yeah, that minimum spec, you'd have to have everything turned down to 0.
You would, and it would look like trash if you did that anyway, and defeat the whole object of the game.
It's like Pong in the end.
That's it.
That works.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. That's Cyberpunk. Playable in VR via Vorpex if you're interested. Greg's tried it. Dean wants to try it in Vorpex. And so there you go. Try it if you want to. One of the biggest releases this year was Medal of Honor by Respawn. Everyone's been waiting for this. A revisit to the Medal of Honor series. It was back again from the 1990s. We all have fond memories of playing through Medal of Honor titles on the PlayStation. It came out on many platforms, didn't it? I think it was out on Sega as well, PC. And I especially loved Medal of Honor Underground. That was one of my favourites. So to hear that it was coming back to the scene again and available in virtual reality kind of blew my mind when I first heard about it. And I've been looking forward to it for over a year since the sort of trailer dropped. So I haven't played it yet. It's downloading now as we speak. So I'm getting hyped for that now, and I'll be playing it probably tomorrow. So maybe next podcast I'll have my thoughts on it. But for now, out of three of us, I believe Dean is the only one that's played it. And so really interested to sort of see what your thoughts are, Dean.
So before I do this review, if you want to give it that term, I did play it a day after it had come out, and it had one patch added to it. So I think there was an additional patch that's been added to it since. So I'm going to give you my opinion based on what I've experienced so far.
Okay, so before you start, what were your expectations with this game before you pushed that play button?
So I think based on what I'd seen in the trailers, I was expecting something, AAA. I wouldn't say Half-Life Alyx level, but something of near enough that caliber. Because I mean, it's been in development for a while. We've all seen the trailers. We've all seen what we seem to think is going to be this brilliant game. So when I was watching that rather fast but incredibly large download go down, I was going, okay, so another 2 hours. Okay, another hour. Okay, 30 minutes. I was literally watching the bar going, I can't wait.
So pretty excited about it then.
A little bit, yeah. So I tried to go into most games with an open mind because we know the developers, this is their first kind of big VR title that they've worked on. So you got to go with a slight pinch of salt, right? I think it's very harsh to kind of judge right off the bat. But the one thing that I was, I guess, to go on a negative to start with, the one thing I was disappointed with was it was incredibly resource heavy on my machine. Now, I haven't exactly got the biggest, most powerfulest machine. I mean, I've got a 2070 in here with 32 gig of RAM. And I would have thought, okay, most VR games would probably be alright. And then I looked at the specs, and it was like, you need a minimum of a 2080. And I was like, okay, well, if I go and look at other Half-Life games, you can tell I love Half-Life Alyx, other VR titles, they don't require such a heavy thing. But then I said, well, in order to move games forward, you kind of need more powerful machines. So fine, okay, fine. So I kind of went into the menu system, and everything was just like really slow frames, and I was like, Christ, this is really bad. So I went into the menu and I dropped the graphics down to medium, and everything suddenly became super smooth. Frame rate was back, and I thought, well, actually, it doesn't look like garbage. It's going to be playable. I'll carry on like this. So anyway, started mission 1. You kind of go through this whole training thing. I won't spoil it too much, but essentially there's a doctor that runs you through this tutorial, which is actually quite comical. Actually, it is quite comical to run through that. And once you do that, you kind of set up how you want to turn, how you want to interact with the guns, and so on.
Okay, so is there many comfort settings or anything those sort of lines?
There's a few. So things like turning, you can have it just snap, or you can have it as a smooth turning. You can change the percentage, or I think the angle of how quickly that snaps, depending on how you want it. You can just turn in your 360 degree area if you want. So there are quite a few different comfort settings. I think they added a few not long after the launch because everyone was like, where are these? Like, oh yeah, we'll add those in, which has then been added to actually the whole doctor tutorial that then goes you through. So that bit was actually quite cool. So I thought, okay, they've put the tutorial in a very nice way, and even one part where you're on like a shooting alley to kind of learn how all the guns work. The guy who works with you is quite comical actually. So there's some nice touches. So you can cook off grenades, so you can hold them a bit longer before you throw them.
Yeah.
Certain weapons work in certain ways. So for instance, with German grenades, you have to sort of bang the bottom of it and then throw it. Whereas the normal ones, you can either pull it with your teeth or pull it with your hands, which is quite cool.
That's very cool.
So that element's quite good. So as I was starting to go through it, I thought, okay, this has got potential. This is quite nice. I'm liking this so far. And then the first level happened. And I was quite surprised by what I saw, because all the characters, and in fact I actually streamed this, most of my chat was saying, have most of the characters in this game done some sort of drugs? Because all of their eyes were like that. No word of a lie. They were just like 1,000-yard stare, every single character like looking at you, and you're like, have I walked into a horror movie, or is this World War II? I mean, World War II was a horror.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And it just looks like everyone's been in like 1,000 battles and hasn't quite come out of like their shock. It's just like, oh,
like they've all got PTSD or something.
Yeah, it was a very weird experience. I was like, okay, that's a small bug. I'll look over that. The gunplay is quite nice. The guns are each unique in their own ways. It was quite nice to actually be able to sort of look down the iron sights, and one thing that's very good is the fact that you can actually close one eye and look straight down that iron sight, and that works probably the best that I've seen in any VR game.
Oh,
so
amazing.
So that is one massive win, because with most modern shooters, you can kind of like spray and pray and hope that you're going to hit something. In World War II, you don't get many rounds, and if you miss, you're probably going to get shot. So there's certain weapons where it's better to kind of look down the iron sights to get those shots. I did have incidences where I like pinged off someone's helmet, and he was kind of like looking around going, "Oh, where's that gone?" And then,
"Oh no, that's cool."
And then subsequently, I put a bullet through his head. So that sight's quite nice, but this is where it then starts to unravel. Every single thing that you do seems to lead you to a victory screen. So it was like, you've completed the tutorial, victory. You've done this, victory. And I was like, okay. So, for instance, the missions are split into a multitude of different, I guess you could call them scenarios. And at the end of each one, it was just like, victory. And I'm like, I don't want that. I just want to carry on to the next section. Like skip that screen. Let me just jump to the next bit. Like, I kind of get what you're trying to do by scoring me and stuff like that. But I'd rather just carry on. And if I want to go back to that to get a better score, then that kind of makes sense. So that bit was just like kind of weird, because it was like, hey, you've picked up a gun, victory. And I'm like, no, this is getting ridiculous now.
The thing is, it does hark back to the original Medal of Honor series, because they did have the victory screens, and quite a few of them, if I remember rightly. But does that translate into VR? Should that have come over as a mechanic to VR? Probably
Absolutely
not.
It massively spoils it. Massively spoils it. And I think the other thing is if you okay, so if you take I remember the original Medal of Honor on the PlayStation 1 really well. Really, really well. If you put you can't really compare them, but here's the reason why I'm saying. If you put the two up side by side, you've got one where you're kind of going through missions. You have to go through and complete a load of objectives, and then you get to the end of the mission, then you get your victory message, yeah? With this, it was like every gunfight you had ended with a victory screen. And I just thought, like, some of these just seemed completely premature and unnecessary, and it really spoiled the immersion, because it isn't like a 360 screen that you get with this victory thing. It's just like this massive plate that's put in front of you in like this flat thing that appears in front of you, and you're like, ugh. It's not like, you're still in the battlefield and something like drops from the sky, like victory or a flag or something. It's just like victory. I was like, okay, next, and that was it. So like, I wasn't really bothering with the scores or anything like that. I was just like, just get me to the next thing, So, coming on to things like the audio, nailed it. The only one thing was a couple of the guns don't have quite loud enough sound, according to some people on the web. Mm-hmm. Sounded fine to me. But yeah, the sound was very good. There were some aspects that I found were incredibly immersive. There's a section, which I won't spoil too much, where there's a train, and then basically they detonate the train, and the thing comes launching right over your head. And it was the one time, and I've never experienced this in VR, where I genuinely hit the floor.
Brilliant.
Cracked myself.
Yeah.
I was literally kneeling, and this thing just went, and I was like, oh, okay, hang on a minute. Oh, okay.
And you found yourself ducking, did you?
Yeah, I was like, that's a little bit too close for comfort. I did not like that at all. So there are shades of genius in this game. And this is the thing, is that if you can grab onto those and really enjoy them, they're great. The storyline is a bit, how can I put it? It's a little bit tacky, if you ask me. It's tacky. It's like the moment you hear what's going on, you kind of go, oh, right, okay. I kind of already know what the ending's going to be, kind of thing. So, as it was going along, I was like, I bet this is going to happen. Yeah, it did. And I bet, it did. So, I would have liked something a little bit more creative. Now, I guess one of the arguments for that would be, it's World War II. How creative can you be? But if you've got the might of EA behind you, and you've got if you really want to come out of the traps with a AAA title, put a little bit more effort into that rather than trying to make this. Yeah, I would prefer a much more betterly written story than something that looks absolutely beautiful and perfect. But that comes on to another point, because graphically, it's almost conflicting, because there are elements where it looks incredibly realistic, and other parts where it looks like an arcade shooter.
Okay.
It's the only game where I've actually been inside it and felt conflicted in my own mind about what I'm playing, because even when I think about the original Medal of Honor, it was very dark, it was very gritty. You know, you had this very atmospheric thing going on the all time, and there are parts of atmospheric sections in the game, but it just constantly felt like an on-rail shooter. And this is where I come on to why I was a bit disappointed, because you go through these, I guess, scenarios or campaigns within a larger campaign, and at the end of each one, you get this victory message, and it almost makes you feel like you're just playing another on-rail shooter. You know, you get here, you kill everyone, victory. You get to here, you do this thing, victory. And it was like, I genuinely, this is going to sound really critical of me saying it, I genuinely had more fun playing something like Robo Recall than I did Medal of Honor.
Because
of that reason. And when you play it, you'll be like, oh, this looks amazing. And then the more you get into it, you'll start to understand what I mean.
Okay.
Now, as I said, they may have ironed some of these out with the patches, but honestly, I don't think many of them would have been, because it almost looks like it's ingrained in the ethos of the story and the way it's been made, put all the way through. So I think, kind of wrapping it all off, I think overall, for a studio that's never done VR before, it's a very good attempt. My issue with it personally is that it's a very well-known brand. It was advertised as being this, you know, revolutionary game and stuff like that, and it was going to be outstanding. And I just think, for the price of what's being charged versus what's delivered, the two don't go hand in hand. However, there is the gallery section. And that is probably the section that I enjoyed the most, which sounds ridiculous in saying, but they've basically concentrated on getting a lot of historical knowledge from former soldiers and as such that were actually in the wars, and dressing them back up in their original uniforms and asking them questions, and they're telling their story. And that, for me, is actually worth more in terms of game knowledge and historical knowledge than it was actually playing the game. And that brings on to another problem, which is you've almost got this one side where you're learning about really intense battles, you know, the grit and the desire and what people went through, and on the other side you've got people who have got very weird looking eyes and this almost arcade gameplay. I'm going,
yeah. So the two doesn't mesh together then.
No, and there are certain elements that really, I've always been a fan of bombing raids, right? Like, games with bombing raids for me is like the best thing, and the way that they did that in this game is one of the best examples I've ever seen. Where you kind of man different parts, you kind of do this, and then you've got to like unwinch this, and then you're in like another turret that's on the top, and then you've got to run somewhere else. Like, that chaos that was going on, I think was actually represented quite well in the game. And to be honest, so far from what I've played, that was my favourite part. Probably because I've got an affinity of those types of games of being in these bombers. But the chaos of what was going on was quite well representative. But yeah, there's definitely a conflict where you've kind of, like I said, you've got this big, well-known title that hasn't had a game in a long time coming back. A lot of pressure's obviously been put on these developers to deliver, and you know, I mean, what was the game? Is it $49.99 or something off the top of my head? Honestly, I would say half that price and it would actually be worth it, which sounds really critical, but once you play it, I think you'll understand why. However, I have heard very good things about the multiplayer, which is something that I actually want to try, because I think with the gunplay and some of the cool aspects, I think that could be really enjoyable. But unfortunately, at the moment, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I would say there's a lot of things that could be fixed in that game to actually make the experience a little bit better going forward.
So I played a game this week, which is the Jurassic World game. Jurassic World Aftermath is called, by Coatsink Studios. And it's one of those games where I felt, if you're new to VR, this would blow your mind. If you're not really new to VR and you're a bit of a veteran, it doesn't really have much to offer. It started off good. The moment I loaded into the game, I loved the art style. It was amazing. It's like cel shaded, much like Borderlands 2, Saints and Sinners, that kind of art style. And the jury was out at the beginning as to whether or not it would work with dinosaurs. But I have to say, I think it does. I think it's good. It needed to be a bit more gritty though. Like, part of me was like, okay, this is great in this kind of weird cartoon cel shading, But what I really want now is like a full-blown realistic PC VR high-end graphics game with ultra-realistic huge dinosaurs in it. I want to experience that now. And obviously you can't get that with the Quest 2, which is kind of what it was released on, but it's kind of whetted my appetite for that kind of game. So it's also almost like a rip-off of Alien Isolation. So who's played Alien Isolation?
It is a rip-off of
Would you say it's a rip-off?
It's like the story. I mean, she was going to get the Nostromos, black box or whatever.
Yeah.
And now you're going to retrieve the information from the scientists, and the puzzles to open the doors were just like the tuner puzzles. And they also ripped off another one was, I don't know if they did it, I can't remember in Alien Isolation, but anybody that's played Resident Evil 2 remake, those where you had to sync the it's exactly that, where you had to sync the waves, and so it's like these. They didn't even come up with original puzzles. One door puzzle was Simon, the boop, 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 boop. Yeah. So it definitely loses marks for originality, I would say, with this game. 100%. And if you played Alien Isolation, it had that kind of vibe about it. The story, I wasn't really invested in the story. I was listening to the audio snippets of what was supposedly happening. I got a general sense of the story, which was we're in there to kind of grab maybe some information about the genetics of the dinosaurs or something like that. And to be honest, I was kind of like, story, whatever. After about 10 minutes, I was like, I don't know about the story, don't care about the story. Where are the frigging dinosaurs? I just want to look at dinosaurs in VR and see what they look like. I want to see a T-Rex in VR now. Give it to me, please. Give it to me now. And instead, I ended up running around from computer, reading emails, looking at passcodes, and like, I don't know, syncing antenna arrays or looking at audio files on big screens. And I was there going, I just want to look at a brontosaurus. Can I just do that, please, instead? And but I would say though, the initial mechanics of hiding from the raptors. The first time you come across the raptors, you have to hide from them, and when you see those suckers hunting you down, it was very cool, very thrilling. Great
for the
sound.
First few times.
They nailed the sound in that game.
Oh yeah. The sound, like the sound that the dinosaurs make, the raptors make, like when they're talking to each other.
Supposed to quack,
I know they're supposed to quack. Like apparently they sounded like ducks in real life, didn't they? But it would take the edge off it, wouldn't it? If like a giant raptor comes towards you and then just goes whack, you'd be like, what the fuck? You're meant to be scary. You can't quack at me. I'm gonna throw bread at you. Yeah, exactly. So hiding from the raptors was fun the first few times, but the problem with the game is that you do it non-stop for about 2 hours. And I was a bit over the whole, oh, look, there's a cupboard. I can hear a raptor.
It's a cupboard. It's like, and everywhere you go, it's not that hard. I mean, there's a locker or under a desk everywhere. There was one part that I was playing where I was like, I literally could just crawl under desks all the way there. I mean, it's so easy. Yeah, like the way that it was laid out. Yeah, like where you could like distract them. You just stand there, distract them, they go over there, you walk over here, you crawl under 5 desks to get, and it's just a straight path to the next door. I was like, wow. I know. It wasn't really challenging, but this kind of harks back to why we started talking about this, which was the entry-level games to VR. And it seems to be a thing that Oculus are doing. So when you look at Star Wars: A Galaxy's Edge, right? Another one, we had high expectations of amazing immersive Star Wars experience, and instead we got pretty much an on-rail shooter that was designed just to kind of blow the minds of people that love Star Wars and are trying VR for the first time. They just got an Oculus Quest 2, they're picking it up, they buy a Star Wars game because they love Star Wars, hey ho, job done. Loads of money for Oculus. And it kind of felt like this was like the same but for people that loved Jurassic Park. Yeah, I called this game, and my title on my video that I did of it, I called it Alien Isolation Light.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not nowhere near as good as Alien Isolation anyway. That game's an absolute classic.
That game is
and
incredible.
it just proves that you can't just copy a few mechanics from one game and make it a success. It doesn't work like that at all. But yeah, I was streaming this game in the week, and I think I got 3/4 of the way through it. I'm finding it really hard to pick it back up, and no, to be honest, I don't think there's a part of me that wants to pick it back up now. I think I'm kind of done with it. I kind of had the experience of what the game's got to offer. I don't think I'm going to find anything new in there. And on top of that, they're making it an episodic game.
Yeah, it's episodic, so you have to buy more of it. Yeah.
What? I didn't know that before I bought it.
Yeah.
And one of the first things you see when you load into the main menu is it says "coming soon" at the bottom of the menu.
Buy. It gives you a
get ready
to
for
buy it.
Yeah, for part 2. And it's like, I did not know when I paid however much it was, £27 for it, that it was going to be an episodic experience. And so I didn't agree with that. And it's the same with Galaxy's Edge. Galaxy's Edge is going to be episodic as well. So there seems to be a bit of a trend that Oculus is doing. They're getting an experience.
New microtransaction.
Yeah, well, what Oculus are doing is, what can sell the Quest 2? Star Wars, Jurassic Park. What else out there? Alien is probably going to come next. Aliens or something like that, yeah? They're going to grab another IP. And then they'll give you the watered-down experience. So you get that wow factor of, like, let's say if it's Alien being on the Nostromo or something in VR, you get that, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you just pick up a marine rifle and you'll probably just walk around on rail shooter, and then there'll be 5 episodes afterwards. And it kind of seems to be what Oculus are doing right now. And it sucks, to be honest, because it's not giving us those kind of experiences that we're expecting. And I want more. I want better, more immersive, deeper games with lots more story and a bit more thought about, like, whether it's actually fun to play, whether it actually makes you want to come back for more. And Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, played halfway through, haven't got the urge to pick it up again. I want to, but I
spent the money on it. I mean,
but I just haven't got the urge to go back to it. They're not thinking about whether these games are fun. They're just thinking about that initial wow moment when somebody puts the headset on. Will it make them experience Star Wars in VR? Will it make them experience Jurassic Park in VR? Will it give them that wow factor for 5 minutes? Yes, fine, sold, bang. They're not thinking about the longevity of the IP in VR, whether they can make it better, even more super immersive. And it just seems to be lazy, to be honest. It feels like it's a lazy approach to game design, and it's something they're using just to hook people in to spend money on their Oculus Quest 2s.
Just like with Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Aftermath, on PC VR we could have had a AAA experience with and that would have made this game way better. For me, that cartoon style in a game like this, which I think is supposed to be kind of a horror genre, I can't take cartoons seriously,
Yeah.
So like when that big T-Rex came in at first, after the plane crashed, and then he eats the pilot, I'm sitting here joking. I was like, hey, bad news for you. According to paleontologists, T-Rex love Mexican food. Because his name was like Juan, and he was
yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, if they want to go a cartoony route, I guess that's fine. But at least do something with lighting and maybe some fog effects or something just to give it.
Did you ever play Lies Beneath?
Yeah, I didn't really like that one either.
Because that was the cartoon graphics as well, and that was very much cartoon. Like, it was pulled straight out of a comic book, wasn't it?
A comic book,
yeah. Like, even to the point where you struck the lighter, you had actual written sound effects.
That one had better atmosphere.
Yes,
than this one did.
Which is what I was about to say. That was still scary.
Yeah, I could see how that one would really scare people. And actually, I stopped playing it because the gun was just pissing me off in that game. It felt really floaty, and I was fuck this game.
Yeah.
But I think I was just sitting there thinking, and my worry is that I feel like some studios, as I said, are starting to go after a bit of a cash grab, because it's like, hey, VR's a popular thing. We can make a bit of money. Everything's kind of gone to crap with COVID. So what we'll do is we'll just make a title. Everyone will love it. Everyone knows Jurassic Park or Medal of Honor. We'll just push it out there and make some money. But again, how much of that is actually harming the thing that we love so much? There is an argument to say at least it's content, but at the same time, is it good content? And that is my fear.
I think that Jurassic World game is great for people that are new to VR. I think it'll be, I think they'll really enjoy it. If they've never done Alien Isolation before, I think that they'll really enjoy that stealth aspect of that game too. I didn't absolutely hate it. I just was wanting something so much more than that.
Yeah, and I think it's bad because I felt like we've really bashed the games so far this episode in quite a big way, quite a substantial way. We've come down like a ton of bricks on all of the releases we've talked about so far, because we just understand VR a lot more than these studios seem to show us, and it feels like what we want versus what is being produced, there's like this massive disparity at the moment. And I think it is down to the Oculus Quest. People know it can make money for the studios, so if they release something on that headset, it's going to generate some cash for them, right? So there's that aspect of it. Then there's the aspect that if you're going to produce something for that headset, it can't be PC VR grade quality. So you have to make compromises straight off. So you're trying to make a cash grab. It's not going to be as good looking. Probably can't be the same sort of sized game as PC VR either, because it has to fit on that mobile headset. And I just feel like there's a lot of compromise going on, and it's around the Quest 2. And unfortunately, the VR market is the Quest 2 right now.
You're not being very Christmassy, Steve.
I know. I feel like proper bar humbug.
It makes me want to get this beanbag and explode it.
Grumpy. I'm grumpy. These conversations are making me grumpy.
Okay, talk about MYST.
I want to hear.
I'm a grumpy reindeer. Okay.
Speaking of games where you just sit and point and click a button, Steve, let's tell us about MYST.
MYST. Okay, so there is
a happy note.
There is right. There is light at the end of the tunnel, because I've been playing an absolutely awesome game that I've been thoroughly enjoying. I've done 4 streams so far on this, and this is MYST by Cyan Games. So MYST originally came out in, I think it was 1993, so we're talking 27 years ago. And that's a long time for a game to have been released, garner a massive community. It's one of the biggest selling games of all time. And then, the whole of gaming technology has changed, and then VR was born. And then suddenly this game from 1993 has been catapulted into the land of VR and remade. And it works really, really well. They've done such a good job with it. So when I first played, I did complete it. I completed it on the PlayStation 1. And I remember it was actually around Christmas when I got it. And I spent a good week sort of in the Christmas holidays just playing this game, trying to complete it. It really got me. It really hooked me. Like, the puzzles were challenging yet fair. And then you'd hit one that was majorly complicated that you would just get stuck on for a day. And then suddenly out of nowhere, the solution would come into your head, and then you would move it forward. And because it's been so long, I'd forgotten all the solutions to these. I've forgotten, 80% of it I'd forgotten. The other 20% was just a vague recollection of the locations, but not what the actual puzzle solutions were. And so when I first loaded into MYST VR, I looked around and I was hit with this massive wave of amazing nostalgia for the game. It's like, I remember sitting in front of a TV screen with a PlayStation 1 being in this world, and now I'm in it, and it just felt so good. And they really have polished the graphics to a level that suits VR, because obviously it was a point and click game before. It was just static screens that would just come up. You would just click on particular parts of the screen depending on what you're interacting with, and then it might change. If you move forward, it
give
just
you an animation,
another kind of slide to show you moving forward or whatever. But I don't know how they've managed to achieve it, but they recreated the world from the ground up, I think, and you can just free roam the entire MYST Island, and it looks stunning. And
it looks great.
It looks really, really good. And in the later levels as well, especially I don't want to spoil it for people that are playing it, but there is a world related to the ship that you see on MYST Island, and it has some of the most beautiful skies that I've ever seen in a VR game. And there's like the sun setting, and you see the sun in the sky, huge sun, amazing like oranges and like, you know, yellows, and just incredible. And I had a real moment where I just kind of stood there and looked at it, and it took my breath away. And I had this moment in Skyrim, when it was heavily modded with like 4K textures and like, you know, weather packs and stuff like that. And there was this moment where I was on top of a mountain there, and I just kind of sat down with the headset on, literally sat on the floor and just looked at this vista with like the northern lights and stars, and it took my breath away. And there was that moment as well in MYST, and I haven't had it in quite some time. So they've really nailed the environments. The atmosphere of the game is really good. Like, it's got all the amazing background music that you remember from the first. I love the music
in this game. Yeah,
so good. Like, you walk into a new area and the music can either make you feel slightly happy, like, ta-da, you found a secret. Or it's like, dun, dun, dun. Oh no, another hard puzzle ahead. You're going to tear out what's left of your hair in this one, or whatever, you know. And the music can kind of dictate the mood before you've even figured out what you've got to do in that particular area. And they've got the difficulty of these puzzles absolutely spot on. Enough that when you do get stuck, you're kicking yourself for half hour, an hour, and then eventually something will just go click. I know what I got to do. And you know, the experience of going through these books, which MYST is based on, you kind of put your hand on it, you can teleport to these other ages and dimensions. Like that feeling of moving to a different world, which is a slightly different environment. They've done really, really well, and it encapsulates everything I remember from 1993, but better. It's VR. Oh, yeah. It's better. VR. It's so much better. But it is hard as nails, though. Like, you do not go into this game. You know, I would say, like, you got like red matter, which is kind of like for puzzle difficulty. Let's say red matter is there. Then you probably got something like Shadow Point. I don't know if you played Shadow Point. That's probably about there. MYST is like there for puzzle difficulty. Like, you will struggle. But if you really think about it and you really take in every single part of the environment that you're in and look for clues, really hunt around and look for clues, then you will discover what you need to solve the puzzle. If you run in there, you get frustrated and you run around in circles for ages and ages, and you're not thinking, you're just going to be stuck on the island and you're going to get frustrated with the game. But if you go into it thinking, I'm going to put my thinking cap on, I'm going to be logical, I'm going to look at every part of this island, and eventually these answers will start coming to me. You'll find it will happen. And enjoyment factor for me, oh my God, it's through the ceiling. I'm loving it. I'm itching to go and play it now, actually, because I'm pretty much at the end, I think. And I on stream as well. You know, everyone in chat's they haven't been helping me, because they don't know what to say. Like, I've been running around going, we could try this. What do you think, chat? And they're like, I don't know. Like, they literally haven't got a clue. Like, but everyone's been really enjoying the ride with me on the stream. Like, they've really enjoyed watching me go through the process of solving these puzzles. And I've enjoyed solving these puzzles as well. So my only wish is that that this is a success for them, and that they start bringing the sequels to VR as well, because I'd love to see Riven. Right, so Riven, never played Riven, and it's a sequel to MYST, and so I really would love to experience that for the first time in VR. So yeah, MYST for me is one of the highlights of the year, I think. It's one of the highlights of the year for me. Not the best game, but it's just because my game of the year is Half-Life Alyx, which is just the whole new bar for VR, and this is a completely different genre. It's like a puzzle game. You know, it's not meant to compete with the likes of Alyx. But I would highly recommend that if you like puzzle games in any shape or form, that you do pick this up, because I think you'll have a fantastic time, definitely. So I would highly recommend MYST VR for the Oculus Quest. I think it's great, and I believe it is coming to PC VR in the not too distant future as well.
Nice.
So all good. Right, we've talked a lot about our games, but Greg also got his first foray into haptics with the latest TackSuit from bHaptics. So how'd that go, Greg?
Good. I got the TackSuit 16, X16 or 16X or whatever it is. So that means we have the 8 motors in the front and the 8 in the back. We've talked about that math before and how great it was. I figured that out on my own. But no, it's pretty cool. It wasn't exactly the easiest user-friendly setup. They send you this little Bluetooth dongle that you put in your computer. If for some reason on one of my USB drives it's not working, but it works perfect up on the other one. And then from what I'm seeing, most of the games that support it, you have to like go to Nexus Mods and update your Nexus Mod account and download a mod from there and a couple of files, and then you have to put some stuff in your command launch commands on Steam to get it to run. And so it's not really it's not just out of the box it's going to work. You just slap it on and play your games. You've got to put some effort into it. But yeah, I played a little bit of Alyx with it thus far, and it's really cool. It feels great getting shot by those guys. That's what I wanted, stuff like that. I really
is it a game changer? Like the moment you put it on, you felt that first bit of haptic that was responding to the game.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just kind of striking, when you see him shoot at you and you just feel it, you're like, oh shit. It just adds another level of, whoa, what the heck was that type of thing. So
is it what you expected?
Yeah, pretty much exactly what I expected.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to about here on me, because I got the 16th. I think the 14th goes more full abdomen, but they're not light. There's definitely weight to them. I'm glad I got the smaller one because they're also warm. I imagine people playing games like Beat Saber and stuff like that, they're probably going to work up a sweat. They do send you an extra mesh thing to put on the inside, I think. So, but yeah, it's definitely warm.
Okay, so what does it come with then? So you get the vest. Is it like charging just via like a USB?
Yeah, it takes. It's like a USB-C to USB-A.
Okay, and how does it hook up with the headset? Like, does it need to be cabled in any shape or form?
No,
or is it all Bluetooth?
It's through a computer. It's just Bluetooth. Yeah, so there's no wires. It takes like 5 hours to charge it. So.
So a significant amount of time before you actually jump in.
Yeah, but then you get like, 20 hours before you have to recharge or something like that. So I mean, yeah, the battery life is really long on them. I tried to play Population 1 with it because I think it was Proper D online, and he was playing Population 1, and it seemed like it was like when he'd shoot his guns, it was lighting up, because you get the little indicator where you can put up on the screen to see how it's reacting.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was reacting to the sounds of the gun. So I don't know if he just had it, because you can set it up to just vibrate off of audio in the game.
Yeah.
So
I suspect it probably was. I don't think I've seen any noise about a community profile for Pop 1 yet.
No, but I sure hope they get one, because that's one of the main reasons I want haptics. Because I want to know, when you're getting shot.
I've just realised we've talked about Pop 1.
We have. It's going to make
we've gone through the majority of this podcast without mentioning Pop 1, and it is. Sorry. It was going to happen. It's back. We've talked about Pop 1. It's happened. We're all still addicted.
Yep.
Carry on.
But I played 6 hours straight on Sunday last week. So. But no, that's what I want it for, because when you're getting shot in Pop 1. Sometimes that arrow it's showing you where you're getting shot from. It just confuses the hell out of me. I just want to feel where I'm getting shot from. That's, you know, because I could never tell. Okay, does that mean that they're shooting me from that direction or that direction? I never can figure out what that arrow means. So, but no, it's pretty cool. It's am I gonna say that I think it's worth $300? I don't think it's worth $300.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Does
it feel like a good build quality though?
Yeah, no. The quality of it is great. I'm talking about the experience itself. Am I happy I spent $300 on it?
To be fair, though, you've only really played it in Half-Life Alyx so far.
That's true.
Which is arguably the best experience for it, from what I've heard.
Yeah, no, and it worked fantastic. Or like when a grenade went off next to me, and I was like, oh, you know, that was great.
Yeah,
that was great. You know, I have no idea what it costs to put these things together and all that kind of stuff. And I know as technology moves forward, they're going to be cheaper because this is like, you know, the second iteration basically of what they've been doing, because the other haptics vests they've been making are way more expensive, I believe. I mean, because these are the first ones that drop down into the affordable range.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's affordable and everything. I'm glad that I got the 16 and not the 40. I definitely wouldn't be probably real happy with myself if I spent $500.
Okay, and your brother did though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
So you must be happy about that, you know, brother rivalry.
He hasn't got to use it yet. He was texting me this morning. He's terrible with computers. He needs his handheld to do every little thing, right? And so he's like, how long does it take to charge? 5 hours. Oh, okay. He's like, well, this isn't letting me do this thing. I'm trying to download this thing. I'm like, well, do you see this tab? It probably says more info. You click that, say download anyway. He's like, I'm just going to have Cameron come over and help me. And I'm like, oh my God, just do it.
Oh God. Okay, well this is really interesting because I've been thinking about getting a B haptics vest, and I've been begging for it pretty much off my other half, but I don't think it's materializing, just because it is still quite expensive. Can't really justify it right now.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but also I feel that this is like a real halfway house for the tech, because I want the full body, I want the full suit.
Yeah.
That's what I really want. I don't want a bit put there, a bit put there, a bit strapped down here. I want step into that suit, zip it up, and I want to feed it all down my arms with tracking, full body tracking, like the Tesla suit, something along those sort of lines. That's what I really want. But unfortunately, the cost of that kind of tech right now is not cheap. But so it's kind of like I might actually just hold off with haptics until it's in a much better place a couple more years down the line, maybe.
Seriously, I feel like it's kind of like when Nintendo would put out all these neat accessories and everything, but that's just kind of what they ended up being, was a neat accessory. You know, remember that robot thing?
Yeah, for the NES. I mean, the most ridiculous thing they ever made.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah.
The Power Glove. Remember the Power Glove?
The Power Glove.
But that's just gone down in history, isn't it? The Power Glove.
Yeah. But no, this is just it. It's not necessary to enjoy VR for sure. For somebody like me that's like an enthusiast and wants all the toys, I'm sure it's fine.
I think the acid test is going to be every time you go in VR, if the game supports it, are you going to go through the rigmarole of setting it up and wearing it for that game, or do you think you'll be like, or do you think you'll be like, nah, and it's just going to sit on a table for a bit?
It kind of depends on the game, I guess. Like, I still want to try it with Boneworks. I was trying to set that up this morning, but that seemed like a lot more complicated process, and I was kind of in a hurry to get things done.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do Alyx and try a couple other things, and you know, so I haven't spent a ton of time in it, but I spent long enough time in it to know that it's pretty warm.
Yeah, that won't do for me. I get hot really quickly anyway, and that would just cheese me off.
I'd love to know what it's like with something like Beat Saber. That to me, like getting the beat going through like your chest and stuff. Like I think.
I bet that's pretty cool experience. Yeah.
But then pistol whip.
But then for something like that, if that's the kind of experience you're going for, you don't necessarily need the full blown haptics. You could go for something like a sub pack. Yeah. is literally responding to the base that exists in games. So like sub packs are a hell of a lot cheaper than the B Haptics vest. So you could probably go for something like that over the tack suit.
Well, something that was cool, like with Alex, you know, when you go to use the healing things, you know, you could feel them just kind of tingling through your body.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Give me that.
Yeah, and it was different from the one with just the little ones were different than like the hand one, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, nice.
No, that's really cool, and I think the directional haptics is definitely where it's at with those. I mean, it's so, and it definitely adds a layer of immersion. But like I said, if I'm totally honest, I just don't know if $300, man, that's a lot of money.
It is. It is a lot of money. Well, yeah. So it sounds like for $300, then it doesn't really provide the experience that you really want, but it's kind of close to the mark, maybe.
Yeah, like I said, if you have money to burn in your, it's a cool thing to have, but it's just not necessary.
Okay.
I don't think it's that much of a game changer that you just must have this, you know.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of weeks ago, we launched a competition for Christmas. So Santa had 3 Carnage Chronicles keys to give away. So we've taken a look at the entries and we've made the draw. And the winners are...
Hello to all you mortal people who love to sin. It is I, Satan Hitler, here to swallow your... What?
No, read
What?
the card.
What do you mean read the card?
Read the card.
Oh, yeah, the card. Let me see it. Let's see. Damage Cronus, winners, dress like... Oh, for fuck's sake! Hello to all you boys and girls who are lame and not on the list of naughty people. It is I, Santa Hitler, here to announce the winners of the Carnage Chronicles key giveaway contest thingy from those dudes at TripVR Podcast. But first, I would like to do a Santa Ask Me Anything. My first question comes from a girl named Tabitha. Dear Santa Hitler, how do you get all those toys to all the boys and girls of the world in one night? Well, Tabitha person, I want this big bag of shit for entitled brats, and they are the only ones that I actually give anything to.
No.
What?
Just announce the winner.
But I have more questions.
The winner.
Okay, fine. But you're gonna be hearing from my lawyers. So the winners of the TripVR Podcast, Xmas Carnage Chronicles Key Giveaway Contest. Jesus Christ, that's a long freaking name. You don't want to shorten that or anything? Fuck you guys, it's your show. The winners are Michael Quigley, Croy VR, and Rattlehead 9026. Congratulations. Watch Janice and Kale.
So there you have it, folks. That's episode 4 of the TripVR podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, and push that bell button to see more of this content. So I've been a VR Bug, and I wish you a very, very happy Christmas and a happy New Year.
I've been Dr. Greg, and I wish you a Merry Festivus, like the rest of us.
How am I supposed to top that? Anyway, I've been Machine Dean, and have a wonderful Christmas and a brilliant New Year, and hopefully we will see you all.
Bye, everyone. Have a Christmas. Bye-bye.